Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. This is Lorenzo Fawn sitting here with
Kevin Horde.
How you doing, my man?
Doing well. Hopefully doing better than last week with the Vox Vortex 5000.
Oh God,
that is my hope.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if we can bear ourselves out of that one. This week we're going to be talking Kaz's Curse. This is an episode that aired originally on December 8th, 2019. This is Season 2, Episode 10 of Star Wars Resistance. This is directed by a Brad Rao and written by Eugene Sun. So, yeah. Should we get into the episode summary?
We should. One question first. Do you think there's a Eugene dad or a Eugene daughter?
Oh God!
Because it is S-O-N, not S-U-N.
We're not falling in that trap again. Let's not do that. Yeah, we're gonna move forward with this Star Wars Resistance, Kaz's Curse episode summary. So that is your spoiler alert here. Spoiler warning for this episode. If you've not watched it, I am going to summarize the entire episode. All right.
Do your thing, man.
We get Kaz gambling with a bunch of pirates. He's having a lucky streak against these pirates. And Kaz is getting a little boastful to the point where one pirate, Leo's, curses Kaz. Niku believes the curse, and many of the pirates around Kaz react to this curse as if to believe it. While wandering around, we get Mika Gray, the archaeologist lady from a few episodes back. She overhears what's happening with Kaz, thanks to Niku being very loud. Turns out she's a soothsayer. She's a fortune teller, shall we say, and she's reading the future for Bolza, the market vendor. He gets freaked out. Yeah. So in the market, Kaz almost gets run over by a cart and then is immediately called to a meeting by Yeager. But there's a lot of other little incidents that continue to occur, and it leads Niku to fully believing that this curse is real. So for the meeting called by Yeager, we have Tora, Kaz, Hype. They are all sent to scout an asteroid field that the Colossus must make its way through. But the reason they must go through it is because it's the quickest way to get out of Guavian Death Gang territory, which they are about to pass through. So they don't want to spend any more time in this territory than they need to. As they are being sent out to scout the asteroid field ahead of the Colossus, the fireball, which Kaz is piloting, begins to act up. There is a Guavian Death Gang scout that spots Kaz, but the scout gets away due to a lot of other malfunctions happening on the fireball, which is messing up Kaz's piloting abilities. So once back on the Colossus, Kaz goes back to Leo's to try and undo the curse. Turns out that Leo's just ends up cursing Kaz again. So we get Niku telling Kaz to go see Mika Gray. She offers a charm, a talisman to help undo the curse that has been placed upon him. Then the Guavian Death Gang attacks the Colossus. There is a demand of 1 million credits as a quote-unquote toll to pass through their territory. The Aces launch, and Kaz heads back to the fireball, feeling emboldened with the talisman kind of protecting against the curse against him. Turns out that he does drop it unknowingly before he gets onto the fireball. However, Kaz is still able to get himself together and leads the Aces to victory. Turns out, the talisman was inside of him all along. And cue fanfare.
Cue fanfare.
So yeah,
the talisman
running down
was his heart.
Running through really quick, there is in terms of characters we don't see quite often. We get Dave Filoni again as Bo Keevil. We have a David Accord playing some Guavians. We have a David Shaughnessy playing Drell. D. Bradley Baker is playing Greville, Glem, and a Ugnaught vendor, or an Ugnaught vendor, if I can read my own handwriting. We have a Fred Tatasciore playing Bolza. We have Matthew Wood playing other Guavians. We have a Steve Blum playing Leoz, and 2D Roche is back as Mika Gray.
Excellent, man.
Actually, it was a big list of people this time.
Yeah, that's the biggest Rogues vocal gallery that we've had in a while.
Yes. Yeah. So, like last week, I would like to start with the overall premise of this episode, which is that Kaz is getting cursed and that the episode revolves around him dealing with said curse.
Now, how do you know that he was getting cursed? Is it because the title was Kaz's Curse, or is it because between Kaz and Niku and everyone else in this fucking episode, they say curse about 400 times?
Basically that. Like, if you were to take a drink every time somebody says curse, you'd be drunk by about 3 minutes into this goddamn episode. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that sounds like a plan. We should go back and do that. Next time we hang out.
Oh, a drinking game with resistance? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We could find some good drinking games for various Star Wars properties. Mandalorian, anytime somebody says, "This is the way," or "I have spoken," those would be good ones.
Yeah, only for a couple episodes, though.
Yeah. That's why you need multiple.
It would be more like any time that you say "ah" to
to a certain child.
Yeah, to
spoiler alerts for Mando.
What is it? It's not so there's the client, and then is it just the child?
It's just the child as of right now.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah. So yeah, between the fact that there is a large, chanting that happens, there is a lick of the hand from Leoz, and then there's
there's some serious spittle transfer here, man.
Yeah.
Then
there's the hand is placed on Kaz's face, and then I think I predicted when we saw Relic Raiders that we would never see Mika Gray ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I've been proven wrong.
You might have also been proven right, but
yeah, in terms of really quickly, let's also get into her role in this episode, which is to basically, I will say she's fairly unnecessary in this episode.
She could have been anybody.
Yeah, she could have been literally anybody.
In Relic Raiders, I think I talked about her character being this awesome kind of mysterious person that is Indiana Jonesing her way through the Outer Rim and beyond, searching for these relics, right? She's a relic raider. And that was a good character. In this episode, she could literally have been anyone.
Yeah.
Could have been a nude, nameless, faceless person. Could have been Fart McGee. It doesn't matter. This doesn't even support her character from 3 weeks ago.
No, it's a completely different character, honestly.
It's a nonsense
the fact that
person.
she's a soothsayer, I don't understand where the hell that came from. She has a tent set up already. She has a place of business. So in however long she's been on the Colossus, she's an entrepreneur, man. She is hustling.
Now, here's a question for you. Is she just kind of biding her time and just trying to make some creds and, get by and entertain herself? Can we chalk this up to, this is actually just a joke for her? Because the episode ends with her talking to a Gorg, man, these pilots are funny people or some shit like that. But it's not just the pilots; it's everybody on that particular market platform.
Oh yes, definitely
of the Colossus, right?
Oh yeah. What would have been more interesting here is we have already discussed this a handful of weeks ago as well on Relic Raiders, actually. this would have been more interesting if Isla, that's her name, right? The little girl.
That would have been good. I didn't even think about her.
Yeah. Like, use her in that weird one time when she started seeing the fucking future or whatever was happening in that episode. I honestly don't remember now because it happened once in season 1 and we never saw any weird fucking powers from these people ever again.
She had like some dream premonitions that were mentioned in the past, and then she had just like some intuition in season 1, and I think maybe once we saw a little bit of not intuition but kind of like a weird like super sensory connection.
Yes.
Right?
So,
but you are totally correct. Like, yeah. Don't use Mika Gray. Use Kel and Ayla here.
Yes.
And they can be relevant to, like, the other crew members of the Colossus.
Yeah. Like, okay, here's... they keep adding these characters, and Kel and Ayla would be the most interesting of the additions. Maybe Sonara, and then Kel and Ayla from characters that we didn't know in the pilot, per se, right?
Well, okay.
Like that. Yeah. That's just a natural. That's just like a natural build of the series, right?
Yeah. You're speaking in general. Gotcha.
Yeah. Just in general. But then we keep adding characters who add nothing, like characters that stay on the Colossus but add nothing to it. When again,
they're sandbags.
Like this is kind of it's the other flip of our complaint that we've had about Von Reg and Pyre and Phasma, all kind of doing the same thing that any of them could have done.
And Tyranny,
especially, yeah.
And didn't we have a new one? Wasn't there a new female?
There was like the lady general or sergeant lady that was bossing around Tam. I forgot her name already, but... Yes, so, yeah, this show likes to introduce characters and then do nothing with them, or do nonsense things with them, as in the case of Mika Gray here.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, and the fact that she's, to me, definitely bamboozling everybody here is just even more nonsensical, and I hate that I'm kind of running off the same mood that we had last week, but, like...
Speaking of which,
yes.
What kind of time period? I'm always curious as to like how long it's been since like the last episode. Like, you know, for us, It's been a week, or less, depending on when you watch it, right? But what kind of time period are we looking at here from the Vox Vortex 5000 to Kaz's Curse?
Like. I'm assuming maybe a few days at least, a week or so at most. Like,
because here's my question. Like, here's my reason for bringing that up.
Yes.
You remember the Kowakian monkey lizard dealers from last week?
Yes.
At a craps table.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Did you know Aunt Z had a craps table in her bar?
Right. And like, I was wondering where that came from. Honestly, that was again, like, there are, much like the way, dear God, I've already forgotten his name, the Hut from last week.
Vranky. And by the way, I thought it was Frankie both times I watched the episode for about 18 of the 22 minutes.
I'm not gonna lie, I definitely wrote Frankie down the first 2 times it was mentioned, or the first 2 times he appeared in my notes.
And it's like Frankie with a V though, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's no E at the end either, so it's VRANKI.
Yeah.
End of name. So much like the way Vranky operates, this show likes to just create new rules and whatever happens, such as this random craps table appearing in Aunt Z's tavern.
Do you think they stole it from the casino?
No.
Oh man, I think they did.
I have no evidence. I just want to say no because I also feel like it's just the way these writers operate. They're like, oh no, of course that's always been there, guys.
But it hasn't, because it's like it's in the area like where the hollow dartboards were.
Right.
There's a bar near my house that has dartboards, right? They used to have a pool table. And then like me and one of my buddies would go there on like Tuesday nights because they had like cheap drinks and stuff. This is the long time ago, longer ago than I would like to admit. But we would play pool and whatnot, and then when they would have darts tournaments, they would like push it over into the corner. Well, it has changed ownership a couple of times. My wife and I went in there one time, and the pool table was just fucking gone.
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck? Where's your fucking pool table? And they were like, oh, we moved it into the back, which I didn't even know they had a back or something. Right. Or I don't know what they did with it or whatever. And then like the next time we were there, pool table was back. And this is what this craps table reminds me of. But I have a feeling that like Freya and Bo Keevil or Freya and Griff Halloran, like when they were leaving,
just snatched it.
Like middle fingers in the air, like we're taking this with us. This is ours.
I'm not against that. I'm not against that theory. I just also feel like that's a question that even the writers didn't think about.
I think that's where it came from. I'm going to just say headcanon. I'm going to declare it now. I will try to update the Wikipedia and say that somebody stole it from Vranky's Casino. Like, this is coming with us. You put us through enough shit. Like, you know.
Like, it's definitely the same table. Like, they definitely took the same asset, like tech asset from last week and just plopped it in here.
Yep.
What I do find funny is that like on the Wikipedia, as far as I know, there is no name for this game. It just says they're playing a gambling game, as I had looked up.
Right.
So it is really bizarre to me that there is no name for this as of yet.
What are they going to call it? Space Craps?
Space Craps.
Space Craps is probably a thing. All you people out there should Google it and tweet me pictures of what you find.
Oh, Joe Dirt. Is it going to be Joe Dirt?
No, I would imagine it would be something not pleasant about being in space.
But yeah, so this is a weird way to start the episode. Again, this is another weird, like, morally ambiguous episode. Not as bad as last week.
I'm cool with them starting by playing craps. Like, yeah, they stole it from a casino, but now they can play. Like, people are being entertained. The pirates are getting beat, which is great because they're not just, raking everybody over the coals and stealing their money. Kaz is a little bit of a dick.
He's a complete dick, honestly.
Because he is playing very well.
Yeah.
And taking everyone's money to the point that somebody bets their shoe.
Right.
And he wins that. But
and not only is still cocky about it.
Not only that, he's even like throwing the dice over his shoulder and shit. I do want to check the markings on this dice to see if they match the markings of like the dice that that Han Solo has.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because the markings did look familiar.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I didn't think about that.
I will not make a declarative statement as to whether or not they match, because I've also heard that the ones from Solo and the ones from The Last Jedi do not match, even though it's supposed to be the same set of dice.
Right. And they were made very close in time to each other, obviously.
Right. But which
is interesting.
That'll be a fun thing I will look into on the side.
Also, would they match the same dice that we do see in Canto Bight as well?
There's a good question.
Right. Because that's like, is this the game that they are playing in Canto Bight when they try to get to the Justin Theroux, whoever his character is, the one with the red plume lapel thing?
Yeah, that I don't know.
Right.
That's an even better question.
Yeah.
But or in terms of equally good question. I'm not discounting my question here.
Right, yeah. But like in terms of like even the episode as a whole, like where this episode leads, like so it starts with gambling and it ends with Kaz pretending to curse other pirates, like.
Well, I mean, he does get a pretend curse put on him, and like he's being a dick to them, so then they're a dick to him, and the one dude's like, "I'm done." Leos is his name, like plural Leos. Of Leo.
Yeah, Leos. Yeah. So that's how they were pronouncing it, anyways. But it's Leoz, and yeah. But again, it's like so. Then at the end of the episode, like. Kaz was so we start the episode. Kaz is a dick to pirates. Pirates dick to Kaz. Kaz has external, uncontrollable events happen to him. Then
that are supposed to be this curse, right?
Right.
So I wrote down all of the occurrences or all the proof of this curse, and it is as follows: there are flashing lights above him.
Yep.
Then he goes to get lunch, and they're out of stew.
Yep.
There's these runaway boxes on a pallet shortly after being out of stew. When he's called into the meeting for the reconnaissance mission, shall we say, he slips on the floor because OP Pitt finally got his fucking floor scrubber back. 4 or 5 episodes ago or whatever, beginning of the season, and OP Pitt is just harmlessly scrubbing the floor, and Kaz is dumb and runs across the wet floor, falls on his face. After that, in the cockpit, there are presumably some malfunctioning controls because he like hits a button instead of whatever he expected it to do, like the landing gear drop. His flying is not great. He does hit some asteroids and stuff. And then there's like the seat malfunction where it pushes him up into the cockpit. Later, he kind of fixes that. But then when he tries to take off after this Guavian Death Gang member, he breaks the throttle handle straight off. Then we have like the seat again. And then he does make it back to the Colossus, lands. But when he's getting out, I guess the landing gear fail because like one wing drops all the way down to the floor. He falls out on his face. There's a lot of Kaz and Christopher Sean having to speak with like smashed face in this episode. He plays it very well. Congratulations, Mr. Sean. You did a great job. After that, we have more lights flickering. When he goes back to Leos to try to get rid of this curse, he walks in with like 2 or 3 gorgs gnawing on various parts of his body and his foot in a bucket. I feel like he probably could have resolved these issues. We have more lights flashing. And then we get to the talisman, which is supposed to have fixed the curse. We have almost lights flashing after this. And then he drops the thing, and in the ship, he has like 1 trigger failure. And then he's like, I'm not cursed, I'm not cursed, I'm not cursed. Punches the dashboard. Everything's good. Curse is lifted. Saves the day.
Yeah.
I don't think that any of these, I don't think any rational person would believe in a curse because of these things.
No. Like,
and the fact that
that's what I'm getting at. Like this whole episode again is just like a really weird setup, and it's a weird string of like weird physical humor. Like it's weird like Mr. Magoo style humor. But it just doesn't feel right here.
Right.
And it's just played so flatly.
Yeah.
Right. And then again, just the fact that like we get to the end of this episode after all this stuff happens to Kaz, and then the last thing he does is be a dick again to the pirates.
See, I liked that.
No,
I liked that part because I feel like at the beginning when they're playing the craps, he's being cocky. Like he's being a dick to the table. it wouldn't have mattered who was there. It's not like
Right.
he's specifically being a dick to the pirates. But the one dude that keeps betting against Kaz and losing all his money, even though Nico is there, like, wow, Kaz, this is amazing. I can't believe that, maybe you should probably quit betting. And Sonara's there, and she's like, oh, I thought your beginner's luck would have worn off by now. Leo's is still, like, betting against, like, this isn't even the way that craps works. Like, you don't bet
Right.
against the person that plays dice. So, and space craps, apparently you do. Don't know.
Right.
But Kaz is being a dick in general, but this guy is a dick to him because he made a bunch of bad bets, right? And then there's, we'll say, shenanigans ensue through the middle part of the episode. And then at the end, knowing that the curse was fake, and this thing that fixed the curse was fake, he goes back to Leo's and the little other dude that honestly he owes a bunch of money to from the first episode.
Grievel, I think. Is that Grievel?
That's Grievel, yeah.
Yeah.
Grievel should have collected a bunch of that money, like, because, hey, you owe it to me, and Cash should have paid him out, and they should have been even. That would have been cool. But anyway, he goes back to them, like, tosses this talisman over, little carved block of wood, whatever it is, to fuck with them, because they fucked with him. So I think that's just payback.
Again, for this family show, I just don't.
Nah,
if it's
I mean, you got
necessary.
siblings, right? Your siblings fuck with you, you fuck with them.
Yeah, but again, just here, I don't. I feel like Kaz has moved past this weird petty shit, but clearly not, right?
I think he did until he was fake cursed.
Yeah, again, it's this other issue of adding weird stakes to this show that I do not understand.
So, are you saying weird stakes as in, like, the curse is weird stakes, or weird stakes as in, like, the Guavian bullshit?
Both of them. Like, they are both really odd stakes that don't play well together, in my opinion, here. I don't feel tension from either the curse or the Guavian death gang.
Well, let's push forward and talk about the Guavian death gang and this whole situation.
Yes.
Were they already in the asteroid field when they realized where they were? That they were in Guavian death gang or GDG territory?
I think they always knew that they were going to have to go through GDG territory.
Well, then it's hype that says, why don't we go around, right?
Yes.
And Yeager is like, well, we're in the asteroid field. We have to get out of the asteroid field first.
But I think it's either Yeager or Captain Dozo who point out, it's like, well, we're already in GDG territory. We need to get through as quickly as possible.
And that's what I'm saying. They're already in the asteroid field. Like, why go into the asteroid field knowing that you're going to have to go through the GDG territory? Like,
I think, but again, the way he says it to me was like, it's more knowing, right? Like, they already pushed through the asteroid field knowing that at the end of it, they would be going through GDG territory. And this is also, I mean, I agree with you to a point where I'm like, I don't know why they're going this way. We don't ever know where they're headed.
Or where they were.
Ever. Right? All we know is that they were trying to run away from First Order 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, this goes back to what I was talking about in the Vox Vortex 5000 about how they're just meandering, right? Yeah. They're just just pump the brakes, guys. Figure out where the fuck you're going. Flying around at sub-light speeds all the time, getting yourself into situations is not a good plan of survival.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like that could apply to both in character universe stuff and to the team behind the show. Like, pump the brakes. Where's the shit going? Like, right? I mean, I get it. This show is pretty much, it has to be pretty close to end of production, if not already, right? So,
I'm sure it's done.
Yeah. So
I'm
like,
sure
there's
production has concluded.
Yeah. So like with all these early reviews coming out, like there's no turning of the rudder that's gonna be possible whatsoever, right? Like live action
Are you reading
shows.
reviews on the show?
But I have seen reaction from Reddit.
You're just talking about our reviews.
No. I've definitely seen very negative. Like again, in the Star Wars fandom, I think as I was mentioning last week, Resistance is not looked kindly upon the way Clone Wars and Rebels were.
Which is totally unfortunate because it should be. The premise of this show is solid.
Should it be?
Well, hear me out.
Uh-huh.
The premise of the show is solid.
Right.
The first season had some growing pains, as is to be expected, and ended on a really strong note, I think.
Right. Yes.
This season has a perpetual second act syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that this isn't the second act. This is the final act.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that if this was allowed to organically grow and subside, then I think that the idea of Star Wars Resistance is a good one and is solid, and there's a lot of good things that could have been done.
I agree with that.
This season,
Yeah.
and especially the last couple episodes, have been letting us down. Well, there is still almost a half a season left. We're past the halfway mark.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, look, even if every episode after this
is phenomenal,
even if it's like knocks it out of the park, is fantastic. AAA, like we getting some like crazy, nutty. It's one through line throughout the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't undo how awful this first half of this season has been.
Okay.
Like we would average shit out and the season would probably be like a strong C+, right? So to me, the fact that the show recovers, even if it ends great, does not make the whole season great. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
So that's my problem as of right now with the show overall. And that's kind of what I've been seeing from other just regular folk commenting on places like Reddit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally get what you're saying, and I know I've brought this up many times before. I don't know if the plan was for this thing to be 2 seasons only.
Right.
But I feel like it wasn't the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say this show was canceled. I feel like maybe it was prematurely ended, shall we say.
Right.
And that because if this stuff was happening in season 2 of a 3-season show or season 2 of a 4-season show, it would be easier to roll with the punches, shall we say. It would be easier to just, enjoy it for what it is. For these little episodes that are like, okay, well, that doesn't really, it's not pushing us forward, it's not holding us back. Things are happening. We get to see some people.
I agree with you to a certain extent because otherwise the flip side of that is like Walking Dead, right? Like season 1 was phenomenal. Season 2 was slow as all get out. 3 and 4 make a slight recovery, and then like by the time we get to season 7, it's a complete just like, what are we doing? Why are we here? Each season is like really good at having an arc throughout, but because the show just keeps meandering and repeating itself, right? Like,
and that show is supposed to exist indefinitely.
Yes. But like, I was a mega fan of Walking Dead, and even I gave up on that show, right? Like, I stopped watching completely after the start of season 7. And in the current television era we're in, like, let's even go like PG-13 and under level shows, like TV-14 and under, right? So
Sure.
like, yes, there are like some pretty intense shows out there that go TV, MA, that can kind of just get away with whatever they want, right? And that's like very exciting, that's fresh and stuff like that.
But you don't necessarily need the mature content to be exciting, fresh, and
Right.
pull you in.
So I think last week I mentioned like Dragon Prince, his Dark Materials I would put on that list. Mandalorian, of course, I would put on that list. There are other shows on right now that I would list as actually like great television, like shows that bolster the medium, right?
I'm with you.
And then there are other shows that I think are some of the best things that have been put to like visual media, period, such as Watchmen right now, right? I think it's unfortunate that right now any other show has to compete with Watchmen at fucking all, Mandalorian included.
Yeah.
And then we get a show
Watchmen
like
is HBO.
HBO, yeah.
Okay.
Then we get a fucking show like Resistance that just meanders, does nothing, adds in like these weird episodes with this weird conceit of a goddamn curse that affects nothing. Meanwhile, we know the First Order is out there, and Tam is getting indoctrinated still. Like the last time we saw her,
Maybe she's not. Who knows?
well, she's getting indoctrinated, but she's like conflicted or whatever. Like Tora's mom was talking to her and knows that she's really good on the inside. That would be cool to fucking explore if we could actually explore that. You know.
You know, I heard a description of television recently, and it was about 80s sitcoms. Okay. And kind of the rule of 80s sitcom was leave them where you start. And
Right.
that's what we're getting into here.
Right.
Is things happen, but we're no different than where we started. We're like, the Colossus is still quote unquote in peril or
Right.
going towards something, or we still need some supplies, and we're no better off than when we started. We're just in a different place. You know, we moved a little bit. We're there now, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. See, like, and the problem with that is that come less than a month from now, the start of the 80s was 40 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Television has moved so much that even good television that can take that concept and
The
work it in a
Mandalorian
way.
does it a couple of times.
Yes, the Mandalorian is. I agree.
And
The
I
Mandalorian
regret
does-
bringing that up because I feel like we're going to talk about the Mandalorian instead of Resistance.
Well, I was gonna bring up shows maybe like even modern sitcoms, right? Like not current sitcoms per se, but like let's say more recent ones, like CBS sitcoms were really good at this, while still debatable. I personally was not a fan of Big Bang Theory, but I understand that it was the biggest sitcom since Friends, basically, right? But
I don't think I've ever seen an episode of the Big Bang Theory.
But like it's still sort like what I had seen does follow that. How I Met Your Mother
That's the one I was going to bring up.
Was really bad about that because I could not stand that show because I was stuck on the question of how the fuck did this guy meet these people's mother, and what does this random fucking story have to do with meeting these kids' fucking mother?
Gotta watch the show, brother.
Yeah. All you need to do is watch season 1 and the last season, and you're set. To me, I get that show has massive fans. I could not stand how long that show was stretched out. I think that might not surprise you based on our reviews of Star Wars Resistance.
It's true,
but we have gone so far top down, by the way. But like, it's because again, it all comes to like this big circle of like, what is Mika doing? Why are we introducing the Guavian Death Gang? Why couldn't this have been First Order here?
Dude, I think you would have bitched even more if it was First Order, to be honest. And we have seen the Guavian Death Gang in this series before. It was first half season 1. But to me, whatever I thought the Guavian Death Gang was, it wasn't some dudes that hung out in some asteroids and charged a fucking toll on a road that people don't even drive down. Okay.
Yeah.
And also like this detail of like, oh, Kaz fucked up because he saw a scout. Like, dude, they're not that far from the Colossus, and the Colossus is blasting fucking asteroids out of the way.
Right.
Like, it's not Kaz's fault. Like, you guys just continue to slowly move forward in a progression of going towards something that you don't even know where you're going. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah. And also, there's that weird thing where they, like, get mad at Kaz for letting the scout escape, but where the hell was everybody else? And how far away could they have possibly have been?
They were checking their sectors.
Yeah, because, like, Hype is like, well, I'm on my way, and then, like, the scout goes away, and then they all get mad at him. And I'm like, wait, what? Like,
I'm pretty sure R2 would have been like, hey, there's somebody over there.
Right. Like, that's all we needed. I don't...
or even like CB23.
Which, yeah. CB23 gets like...
I like CB23 as a character.
I like CB as well, but she unfortunately just has the role of like, CB23 reacts. Mm-hmm. CB23 reacts
battery.
To stupid Kaz shit. Points out that Kaz is a dum-dum. Like, you know. Like,
Kaz even says, like, oh, don't tell me you're believing in this curse now, too. Like,
right.
CB23... I don't know, maybe BB droids are different than, like, our units, because... like R2, R4 that we've seen, like these were droids that were companions and co-pilots essentially to the pilot of the ship. We've seen it in like fighter, I don't know, starfighters. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. R2 fucking fixes the Queen's chrome ship, and Phantom Menace, and R2 and Luke, when they're going to Dagobah, like, Luke has to tell R2, like, nah, buddy, I want to put it on manual for a while, which is another fucking fuel wasting thing. Like, you're going to fly at, I don't know, so whatever your sublight speed is, 10,000 miles an hour instead of hyperspace travel, which is like instantaneous.
Right.
Now.
Sometimes.
Didn't used to be, but it is now,
Yeah.
So it's just like this thing. I don't have a problem with the Guavian Death Gang necessarily. It seems weird that they're patrolling this unused road. Like, it's silly that everybody would be driving through a fucking asteroid field
I
in
agree.
general. And I don't know how big their territory is, but god damn it, like you don't if they were traveling at like light speed and were pulled out of light speed and boom, dropped into the Guavian Death Gang territory, then I'd be okay with it. But they're not. They're just ambling through space slowly.
To your point, I think the show, each of these last like handful of episodes, even the good ones, even the episodes I do like, I agree with you, does a really bad job of setting up context. And I think instead of spending so much time, say, establishing this gambling that Kaz gets into, it just maybe starting with a scene in the deck with Yeager and Captain Doza explaining where they came from, where they're trying to get to, and the fact that they have to go through that, establishing that at the start of the episode, and then knowing that that's the tension that will persist over the episode rather than this weird curse, make the curse a byproduct of the episode that sort of messes up the main thing, right?
I totally agree with you. Because Doza and Yeager in season 1 were strong authority figures.
Yes.
They're incompetent as fuck in season 2.
Absolutely.
Doza is either making no decisions or making bad decisions. Yeager is not the guy that we got in season 1.
No.
Who was like in charge of Kaz. Like Kaz has grown and developed. Yeager, you can't even say like Yeager stagnated. Like
he's regressed.
He's like a non-character.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
He's a face that we know that kind of sometimes says, why are we doing this?
Right. Like I wouldn't even say he's been like some characters will get like flanderized a bit, right? But he just doesn't show up enough to like leave an impact at all.
And when he does, it's like he's just like, okay, I'm going along with whatever's going on. Like he's no longer a strong character, which is unfortunate. Like you said, if the two guys that are supposed to be in command were able to rationalize why we're going through this asteroid field, like why this is necessary, not like, oh well, we're here so we gotta get out of it because we gotta
go through now.
We had no forethought of where we were going,
right?
And then we use the experience that all of the aces got in the fucking asteroid race last week for the benefit of defending the Colossus,
right,
and defeating the Guavian Death Gang. Then it would actually elevate last week's episode,
yes,
and more rationalize the actions of this week's episode. But we don't get that. Instead, we get dropped into, oh, we're here, we gotta get out of it. Oh, Kaz, you're a bumbling idiot, because people thought that was clever in season 1, even though you've grown as a character and you are less of a bumbling idiot, and we have shown that you are more competent and more confident and more able, right? But no, we gotta drop you back down to this thing, and then we gotta take this intriguing character Mika Gray and just turn her into, I don't know, either some putz or some just money grubbing lady, because she's just like, oh, hey, the info I gave you is 50 credits. And he's like, hey, what if I pay you more? Will you agree with me more? And she's like, that's not the way it works. Just give me the 50 credits and go, buddy.
You're right. From here on out, do you think we'll see her ever again?
Yes.
Will she actually do anything worthwhile?
No.
Okay, I'm with you on both of those, actually. The fact that she showed up here again surprised me. Do you think we'll see Kel and Isla ever again?
Man, I wish. I hope so. Okay, We'll go with the same series of questions. Yes. Are they going to do anything worthwhile? I'm not sure.
Do you think we'll
Niku's love interest?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, I think we'll see her. Is she going to do anything
Really?
worthwhile? I don't know.
Oh, man. Okay. Is there anything else we need to discuss here on this one? We've kind of bopped around all over the place. We've gone so far up and then back down again.
Kaz does a really cool, like, wing slide. Like, so when he gets his talisman, he's running back to the fireball. He just, like, vaults over the wing and, like, slides across it. And that's when the talisman, like, falls out of his jacket or whatever. And he tells Niku, like, yo, man, I'm better. Like, don't even worry about me. I got this. Climbs into the cockpit and whatever and fires off. And that's the confidence that we've seen in Niku, like, this season. And then they immediately, like, fart the air out of the balloon because he pulled a trigger and the trigger didn't work immediately. Like, in this episode, the fireball is typical fireball. Like, this is the way that this ship was on its best day in season 1, was malfunctioning shit and trying to eject your seat slowly out of the cockpit during flight and handles breaking off and all this stuff. So it's just silly for him to think that this is like a curse. I don't know. Secondly, last week and this week, where the fuck are the pirates, like, helping out? Did they just, like, give up because they're like, ooh, we helped out enough? Like, they used to attack the Colossus, and now they're just sitting back and gambling and, maybe after being accused of having
siphoning the power or whatever.
Right, being the thieves of electricity. Like last week when Doza, and maybe Doza's proud or whatever, but when he's down on this casino and lost everything, been like, yo, this dude is fucking cheating. We're leaving. Like, oh no, we have 2 quacking ape lizards. Fucking Colin Cregan. They'll come and eat them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was last week.
I have no rebuttal for any of that.
I feel
you might understand.
Let's
from my stance.
I think I've been kind of clear on my feelings of this, but let's make it all official.
Yep, go for it.
Thumbs down.
Yep, thumbs down. Thumbs down here.
Now I will say this is not as rock bottom of a thumbs down of the Vox Vortex 5000. But this is a thumbs down. This is less than a 50% for me.
Yeah. For me, this is still...
It had potential.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me...
No. Like, again, I think if there was some repositioning... I think what I was kind of saying on the fly, but again, just a little repositioning of, like, if every episode had a stronger beginning and end that related to where the Colossus was and where it's going, you know? But instead, like, even Relic Raiders, that's the other one I can think of right now, where it's like, it just starts out with like, hey, you guys are going to go on a supply run. We're like, wait, what? Huh? Like, just a one line of like, oh, I'm glad we got out of, like, that mess from last week, but, like, now we're out of supplies. Like, that, just, like, contextualize it a little bit, right? Like, that would help me so much. But because of, to me, this week's episode still kind of falls into weird pitfalls, like different ones per se, but like still equally bad ones to me. That, yes, it's not as rock bottom as last week's, like, because last week's even had like editing choices that confused me, right? Like, I thought I missed parts of the story, right, and I turned out that I did not, and was just confused because it was bad editing. There isn't so much of that per se, but I still have a lack of care towards this show.
Right.
This episode does nothing to help pull me back into caring for any of these characters, for the story, for anything that is going on with the Colossus. Again, the main question, like you said, why are they in the asteroid field and where are they going, right?
Why are they anywhere?
Yeah, but it's such like a nonsense thing where it's like, oh, we just have to get through this asteroid field. I'm like, why did you go that way? Then
do you feel like whomever is, I don't want to blame this on the writers, I don't want to blame this on the directors, maybe it's, I don't know. Like, well, do you feel like the idea is that the Colossus literally has to be depicted as moving forward in the show for there to be quote unquote forward momentum in the show? Because you and I are adults that have watched a lot of various types of television, and be it animated or otherwise, and movies and whatever. We have read literature that is good and bad, and in different forms, graphically and prose and whatever, right? But as a kid watching this show, I think that a kid watching the show is going to see the Colossus moving and know they're going somewhere, and not question, oh, well, where are they going? Why are they going there? Why are they doing this? Whereas we're like, no, just fucking stop and figure out where you're going. Let us know and then go there. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Look, like,
is it our perspective that is giving us this opinion, or is it the show itself?
I think both, right?
Okay.
I think you're correct, but it's hard to. I'm trying to think of any examples of shows as a child that I would have disliked, right?
Man, shit I watched when I was a kid was like Thundercats and Voltron. That shit never went anywhere.
But there were still engaging characters, right?
I agree.
Like, and characters that didn't bumble nearly as much. Like, they, like, like, for me, like, growing up with, like, Power Rangers, yes, like, there were standalone episodes, Freak of the Weeks, right? Like, new monsters every week. Every episode, new monsters would show up. But our main characters were all still very interesting. And every now and then, there was still like a big arc of introducing Tommy, Tommy being the bad guy, Tommy going away, Tommy reappearing.
This is all in season 1 of Power Rangers, by the way.
And this is an arc that, like, I remember 20 years after the fact, because, like,
it's more than that, but yeah,
it's engaging. Yeah, well, but like, as a child, as an actual single-digit age child, to be engaged in that, right? I think the problem is, like, I never want to be the sort of person that was like, oh, like, well, in my day, like, the shows were better, or blah, blah, blah. I think it's always a case of we remember the good stuff and forget the bad.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that.
So
maybe less so with Power Rangers, because in my adult life I have watched sequentially the first probably 600 episodes of Power Rangers.
Right.
Haven't made it all the way through yet. Gonna do that eventually, but yeah, some of the other stuff from like when we were kids, like G.I. Joes and Transformers. That's.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other shows that existed.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
But I'm trying to think of like the bad ones that we won't have remembered that I just might have locked away in my brain because it created zero impact on me per se, right? I can think of maybe like certain movies that didn't land with me as a child. nearly as much. Any of the non-Disney animated films that were like Ants, you know.
I feel like I was a grown-up when that came out.
I was 11, I think, when Ants came out. Ants was real boring, real bad. And looking back, the fact that it stars Woody Allen is also a non-starter there.
Yeah.
Right.
But to pull us back to Kaz's curse, you gave it a thumbs down. I gave it a thumbs down. My one-word review for this week, I think, is just silly. And, you know, I try to be positive on these things. The other two words that I had written down were stupid and disappointing. Stupid felt too harsh. That was like my first instinct. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, it's not like an outright stupid episode, but
right. It's just kind of silly. Like I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around the premise of why these things are happening.
Right.
But I also don't want to be too vocally critical. Like, honestly, I thought, like, in isolation, this is okay. It's fine. But in the bigger picture, it just there's a lot of questions, like, I don't understand. And I think that's because of my perspective as a middle-aged dude, you know? Mm-hmm. Or however old I am, whatever it is.
I don't know. Like, again, even compared to contemporary, like other contemporary children's shows. Oh, DuckTales. That's a big one, too. Where there are episodic, standalone episodes, but at least the episode itself sets up a very
It does a thing.
It does a thing, and it follows through on that one thing, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas here, it sets up a curse, and then partway through the episode, it sets up the conflict. Like,
right,
it's not
the curse or the conflict?
What's that?
Like, do the curse or the conflict, or the curse is the cause, or the curse is caused by the conflict, or the conflict is caused by the curse, but not like these two separate things that we got going on.
It's like, oh, by the way, Kaz is cursed, and oh, separate issue, Death Gang. Like, what? Like, why did they not introduce Death Gang first and then have the curse just be like an unfortunate occurrence during one main thing, right? Like, they're flipping. I'm gonna use this phrase negatively. They're flipping the script, in a way that is just hard to follow in terms of building any sort of tension in these episodes. By the time we do get to like Guavi and Death Gang, despite having the name of Guavi and Death Gang, I just sit back and I'm just like, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna get out of this one.
Well, yeah. I think things mid-season now are getting muddled. I don't know. What's your one word on this one?
Nonsense. This episode's nonsense.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I felt about this just the whole time. Just absolutely nonsense. And yeah, it's really bad. Like, after this episode and the previous one, just they're bringing me down, man. Like,
yeah, I agree with you.
And so a thing of note as we move forward here is that I head back home for the holidays after this week, and so our recordings will take a hiatus.
Yeah, we're gonna. Last year we did everything we could to push forward through the holidays, and got some stuff built up beforehand and whatnot to kind of carry us over, and dropped a holiday special, which was the holiday special. You guys should go back and listen to that one, or watch it on YouTube. That's an even better idea. But yeah, we're gonna take a holiday break this year, and I think maybe we'll be able to come back with hopefully some fresher attitudes and
hopefully. But the one thing I do want to note is that essentially there are still 3 more episodes to be released this year, and as I do in each of these reviews, since we're not doing the podcast, I promise you I will not watch them.
There you go.
I didn't watch these last 2 episodes until we needed to record them even. I don't like it used to be like with Rebels, every Sunday those episodes would release on Disney XD.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't started the podcast yet, but I was so excited for each new episode. And with Resistance, Sundays, I don't even remember that Resistance comes out, I keep reading these release dates, and then I'm just like, oh, right, like I was watching Watchmen, right? So we have 3 more episodes looking forward, at least through the end of this year, 2019. This upcoming week would be Station to Station as of this recording.
Yep.
December 22nd is The Missing Agent. December 29th, 2019 is Breakout. And of course, Rise of the Resistance is releasing on December 20th officially, but it comes out, premieres that Thursday evening, December 19th. I do believe also for those who may not be aware, I believe we're getting a special preview as well with The Mandalorian. The
Mandalorian's bumped up a couple of days so that it's not in conflict with The Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah, but there is also additional footage tacked on to that episode of Mandalorian as well.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know if it's like a scene or just like another trailer or whatever. Again, I've been trying to like read up as much as I can without like reading too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what sort of content, but it does sound like there is some sort of content that is gonna, like corporate synergy, man. It's all gonna tie together. I'm unaware if Station to Station is gonna do anything for Resistance as leading into Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say no.
I don't think enough has happened in season 2 to get us close enough to that, which is kind of unfortunate. That's what I was expecting, is that that the events of season 2 of Resistance, when the Rise of Skywalker came out, would be closer together, because the expectation and kind of what has been communicated is that season 2 is leading into Star Wars Resistance.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, season 2 of Star Wars Resistance is leading into the Rise of Skywalker,
yeah.
right? And because of release dates and stuff like that, that could also be why we're getting some of this weird stuff in the middle. But that is yet to be seen. So
I'm
gonna say Station to Station, The Missing Agent, Breakout are going to completely ignore the fact that a cultural phenomenon has happened in cinema theaters.
Hopefully, yeah. I also just don't think Station to Station will do any sort of special preview the way Mandalorian will, which I find interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be a perfect chance to try and pull ratings towards this show, especially amongst children. Not saying that I agree with advertising towards children, but you know what I mean? Like, just pulling eyeballs towards this property, right?
I don't really feel that that Star Wars or this airs on Disney, right?
Yeah, just basic Disney Channel, I believe. Yeah.
I don't think that Disney or Star Wars have done anything to promote this show much at all.
Right.
Beyond, there was some stuff at Star Wars Celebration, but aside from Star Wars Celebration, like,
yeah,
they got nothing.
Big old shrug, yeah.
It's
like
unfortunate, man.
Right, like there's no...
It's real unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like now I'm thinking about it, I've never seen Resistance represented at like Disneyland, right? Like yes, outside of Galaxy's Edge, because Galaxy's Edge is supposed to be like pure canon, so like they're not going to reference the shows or movies inside of it, if that makes sense, right?
It does.
Like they don't reference them as movies, right? But Tomorrowland still exists basically as what I had wished. Yeah, I had wished it does what I wish Galaxy's Edge would do, which is like Darth Vader and Phasma are walking around together and nobody questions that shit, you know? Right. Nobody's like, oh, those two aren't supposed to interact. Yeah, nobody cares. I just want to take these pictures, right? But there are Mandalorian toys. There are Mandalorian T-shirts. There's Mandalorian, like, other stuff. There's lots of Rise of Skywalker shirts, toys, gadgets, pens, posters, what have you. Nothing for Resistance. Nothing at all. Haven't seen a Funko Pop. Yeah.
Right, they used to have... Rebel stuff too, right?
Yep. So in what is called Star Wars Launch Bay, there is still Hera's helmet, or no, sorry, not Hera's. The Mandalorian lady.
Yeah. Ren. No, not Ren.
No, not Ren. What's her name? Sabine. Sabine's helmet is in there.
It's Sabine Wren, right?
Is it? Oh, yeah, you are right. Sabine Wren. Her last name is Wren. Yep, you're correct.
It's not Kylo Ren. Sabine Wren.
Right.
Weird.
It's like last week when you said the pirate race, and I was like, which pirate race?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was not trying to be racial.
Right. So her helmet is represented in there. There were Funko Pops that were put into the various gift shops and stuff of Rebels characters.
And they also had like Asajj Ventress's lightsabers, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Remember
those are
you taking a visit there for
in
that.
there. Yep. So like, yeah, there's all that representation in there, and I have not seen a thing for Resistance anywhere, which is, yeah, it's kind of startling now that I think about it, actually. Yeah. So.
Well, I'm going to pull you back into this episode of The Resistance, Kaz's Curse. I really hope this is not indicative of our opinions of things moving forward.
I don't have a positive outlook, honestly.
You know, after last week and this week, my outlook is more grim than it has been. Kind of sad, but you know, I'm still I was hopeful. Now I'm just interested. I'll put it that way.
I'm not even interested. I'm gonna say, like I said, we're taking a break from this podcast, and thus I am taking a break from Resistance. And at this point, without this podcast, I would have watched like the first 2 episodes of the season and then forgotten about it and then binged the rest of them.
Nah, right? You would have watched like the first couple episodes of last season and then waited until I bugged
basically
you like a year and a half from now.
Until that season ended, binge that, watch the first episode of this season, and then binge the rest of this. Basically, was what would have happened. Even then, because I saw this first episode at Star Wars Celebration,
oh, that's right.
I would have just left it at that and waited for the whole season to conclude.
Yeah.
But where was I going with this? I just don't have a good feeling. I want this show to turn around. Believe me, I do.
Just drop the line, Lorenzo.
But I was gonna. I think what's interesting is like I want to go back and listen to our trailer reaction to Resistance Season 1. Like when the show was announced, right? Mm-hmm. I'm really curious to hear what we said back then because I do not remember, and I'm pretty sure I was like all sorts of jazzed up after Rebels, especially.
I think you were.
I'm pretty sure I was very jazzed up. Like you said, hopefully a little break will kind of reset me, and hopefully station to station won't start.
You're going to come back reinvigorated. You won't have to say, I have a bad feeling about this.
Until Station to Station starts with like something weird, like they ran out of Gorgs, right? You need to go to the other station to get the Gorgs. We need more Gorgs to feed all these people.
No, because they just got that big meat sack flying.
Are they still
manta ray space
off
thing
of that thing?
Dude, that thing was like the size of the Colossus. They got plenty of food. They've stopped for gas twice. They've got at least 500,000 credits. Everybody seems to be doing okay as far as supplies go. They did stop on the Relic Raiders planet and get regular supplies, which I don't know, could be booze and water. So they've got water, they've got food, they've got fuel, they've got cash. They don't need to stop anymore.
Do you think we'll get so basically, since this is our last from hiatus, this is also throw other questions like hypotheticals and stuff out there. Do you think we'll see movie characters cross over at all again, like Poe, Phasma?
I thought you were asking a different question.
Like not like story crossover per se, but like, do you think we'll get those cameos like we did this at the start of season 1?
Maybe we get one more Phasma, and then as far as we know, she's gone. Mm-hmm. Poe, I think, is too busy.
Do you think we get a Leia?
We could get a Holo Leia. Mm-hmm. Unless the only thing would be is if Kaz goes to Leia. Like, nobody's coming to Kaz anymore. The only way we get crossover is if Kaz goes to them.
Right.
Okay, so if Kaz meets up with Leia and the rest of the Resistance, then yes, and potentially that would be like in like the series finale or whatever would be meeting up with the Resistance.
The Resistance itself.
In the big battle of the Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
That is where I see things potentially going. Like, but other than that, I don't. Maybe we could have like one more Phasma, like yelling at Pyre or some shit. In person, I don't think so. Poe again, I don't think so. I think he's moved on to bigger and better things. I think we're gonna end with a crossover. Whether or not it will be a crossover in the live action as well as in the cartoon series or just in the cartoon series, I think it's going to happen. There will be, I'll call it a collision, maybe not a crossover.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think we'll ever see Kaz's father or family again?
We are led to believe that we are.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of surprised he's still alive. The one time we found out he was alive, yes.
I agree. I'm thinking 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking 5 episodes from now, Kaz's father is going to contact him, or he or Kaz is going to contact his father. Some way they're going to communicate, whether it be in person or other, right?
Yeah.
And Kaz is going to tell of his intentions to meet up with the rest of the Resistance and fight this fight because it's what's right for everybody that he knows and loves and what's right for the galaxy, and his father is going to disagree with him, or, you know, it's either going to be like disagree and cut him off, see you later, and they part ways, or his father will finally like accept that spark of resistance in his son.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason I say 5 episodes from now is because that will still give like 3 episodes after that to build into to what's going on.
Yeah. All right.
Into the conclusion.
Those are kind of the major questions I have, other than, you know, like, when do you think we'll see Tam again? That'll be the last question I have.
Man, I would hope in an episode called Station to Station.
So that said, Kaz's Curse is episode 10, season 2 out of 19. So we're halfway through here. Any final comments on Star Wars Resistance for the decade here?
No, that's crazy to say, though.
We're closing out this decade of Star Wars.
Yeah, I'd like to just say, hey, thanks to everybody for listening. You know, usually we thank a couple of friends that in an auxiliary fashion help us get this show together. But you know, thanks to all the listeners out there. Head over to notthenerds.com. You can hit me up on Twitter at notthenerds. Probably after Rise of Skywalker comes out, because I think until then I might be on radio silence. So yeah, Lorenzo, thanks to you.
Yes, as always.
We will see you in the new year. So until then,
2020 is coming. 2020 is coming.
Absolutely. It'll be 1 year full of Barbara Walters, and these aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Yep. Bye-bye. Happy holidays, everybody. Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day. A month and a half ago.